Hey VC people, it's Matt again for a second video today, 2 in 1 day. Must be some kind of record. So I got this the other day, or a week or two ago. Tug of War, Paul McCartney, the archive edition on vinyl. This here be's the original copy of the album that I bought brand new in 1982 and still have and still play pretty often. And along with Tug of War, I also got Pipes of Peace on vinyl as well, which is kind of cool because I never had that album before. I had obviously had Tug of War. I never had Pipes of Peace. I knew the songs Say Say Say, So Bad. Kind of knew the Pipes of Peace song because I remember the video more so than the song. I remember the video of Paul as a soldier in World War I on MTV back in the 1983 days. But I will do a review on Pipes of Peace because, but I'm going to wait because I've been playing it, but I'm still getting familiar with it and want to get a little more familiar with it before I weigh in on any type of opinions on it. Was very glad last year or so when, what was it, Venus and Mars and Wings at Speed of Sound came out. The card in those albums said that these were the next two coming out. I was glad to see that because this is one of my favorites and of Paul's solo Beatle, post Beatle albums, probably in my top 5 there. And like I said, Pipes of Peace I never had until just a week or so ago, so I was glad to finally get a copy of it and see what I think about it. But yeah, so this was kind of seen as a return to form for Paul McCartney critically, even though I like the albums that came out before it. But first album after John Lennon had been killed, and so maybe because of that he knew people would be paying attention, so he maybe put a little bit more effort into it than he had in some of his earlier albums. And his first solo album after Wings folded, even though Danny Lane is on some of the songs on here, and he's also on some of the songs on Pipes of Peace. I think a lot of that stuff was recorded roughly the same time. And Paul had not, he had made McCartney 2, which was a solo album in 1980 before this, but I don't think he had made the final decision to disband Wings. Probably had by the time this album came out, but I think this started out maybe as a possible Wings album from what I've read. Like I said, big hit, #1 in England and America. Ebony and Ivory hit #1 in America. Don't know what it did in England. Always been a favorite of mine. So you got a double album. There's the gatefold, which was the inner sleeve picture on the original 1982 album. There's the back. First album is the original album remastered. Second album is outtakes, demos, and B-sides and so forth. So, what to say? Let's see. One thing I will say is that Larry Graves, otherwise known as Canadian Stud Muffin, is a great channel on the VC here if you don't know him. He's reviewed all of the McCartney solo albums from McCartney up to Pipes of Peace and done a really good job of it. Worth watching, worth checking out if you don't know his channel. He does a lot of music reviews and music talk on there. He'll review, I don't know, McDonald's hamburgers and Campbell's soup flavors, and which is kind of odd but fun to watch. And he makes funny, goofy faces all the time, and he's a great guy, so check him out. But he's done all the McCartney albums. But Larry said that, and I don't know if he's going to go past Pipes of Peace or not. I hope he does, but we'll see. But when he got to Tug of War, because the only reason he reviewed Pipes of Peace was because he bought it, like I did, on this archive series. When he got to Tug of War, he said this was the last McCartney album that he bought. I mean, he might have bought some of the newer ones, like New or something, but I mean, the last one he bought for either forever or for a long time, and that's kind of the same case with me. I just, for some reason, I bought a couple of 45s for that Give My Regards to Broadway song, which I liked, and I can't remember the name of it right now. And I bought that 1990s album that was the Paul McCartney Unplugged deal on CD. Didn't get it on vinyl. And I didn't buy any other McCartney albums between this and Chaos and Creation in the Backyard. And then I bought all the ones from Chaos up to now, but I still have a lot of holes to fill in of those 80s and 90s albums. Just No More Lonely Nights, that was the 45 I remember buying. But and the reason, I don't know why, I guess I didn't lose interest in the Beatles and Paul McCartney, but I just sort of lost interest in his and the other solo Beatles new stuff for a while there in the 80s. After this, would hear the songs, and as far as the songs got radio play, and some of them were okay, some of them were kind of just okay or not very good, and I just wasn't inspired to go pick up the albums like I used to pick them all up when they came out before that. Don't know what happened there, but I'm trying to fill in those holes now and find out, which is also the next album in this series is Flowers in the Dirt, the one with My Brave Face. Kind of glad that that's the next one, because I don't know anything off that album except My Brave Face, which not a very good song, but I don't know if that album's any good or not, but kind of looking forward to finally getting a copy of it and finding out. And a lot of people have said they wish that they would release, he would release instead the rest of the 70s classic Wings albums instead of that. I'm kind of torn, because once he releases what's left, London Town, Wildlife, and Red Rose Speedway, you know, I don't know how much interest people are going to have in the other releases, with the exception of hardcore Beatle and Paul McCartney fans. I don't know that anyone's buying these besides hardcore Beatle and Paul McCartney fans for the most part anyway, so maybe it doesn't matter, but I'm kind of happy to see these albums that I'm not familiar with and I don't have coming out. I would rather see something like Flaming Pie or Press to Play, or which is supposed to be not a very good one, but still I've never heard it, so instead of Red Rose and London Town, which I'm familiar with. I want those to come out in time. But anyway, to Tug of War, like I said, is one of my favorite of his post-solo, post-Beatle albums, that is. So, song by song, Tug of War, great opening. I like the way there's a little talking or something before the song starts. It always reminds me as if you kind of walked into a room where Paul McCartney is, and just as he's starting to play a song. It's a good opener, great song, kind of a ballad, sort of a jazzy, soaring, uplifting thing, and it's I like it. It's not exactly a ballad, but it's not exactly a rock and roll song, but it's a good one. Same with Take It Away, the second song, which was a 45, which is maybe even better than Tug of War. I'd give Tug of War probably an 8. Take It Away a 9. They're both really, really good. Somebody Who Cares is the third song on side 1. Maybe the weak spot of the album. It's another kind of a ballad. It's okay. It's a funny song. It's not great. When it comes on, I think, eh. But then by the end of the song, I'm into it. But then when the song's over, I'm kind of lost interest in it. So it's not a bad song, but it's okay. It's probably the least song on the album, in my opinion. I would give it a 6. What You're Doing, What's That You're Doing, is one of the 2 songs on here that were written by McCartney and Stevie Wonder and performed by both of them. It's the better of the 2, I think. It's a really great, cool bass line. It's just a good soul groove song. It's, by that time, Stevie Wonder had pretty much lost it, in my opinion. But this is a good late period song from him. He was never very good after the mid to late 70s, in my opinion. And so it's a great, it's like 6.5 minute long song, good groove, good soulful sound, kind of 80s sounding, kind of 70s soul sounding. I give that song a 9. Side 1 ends with Here Today. We all know the tribute to John Lennon. Really good song. Uh, you know, George Harrison was there first with All Those Years Ago, which is an okay song, but a little too sugary sweet, in my opinion, even though I think his heart was in the right place with the song. This is a better one. It's straightforward. It's not overly sentimental or overdone. It's just right. Kind of maybe would have worked better if Paul would have sang it with no instrumentation at all, or if he would have sang it with just a guitar, acoustic guitar. But the music is it's not too much, and it's about right. It sounds good. So it's a good song. It's you know, it's a touching song, and kind of wonder what John would have thought of it. You know, he probably would have thought it was Ponzi rubbish, but probably would have said that, but would have thought that it was secretly kind of been touched by it. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what he would have thought of it, but that's kind of how I feel he would have thought of it. Side 2, we have Ballroom Dancing, my absolute favorite song on the album. Probably the most rocking song on the album. Just a great, catchy rock and roll pop song. I love it. I give it a 10. I really like the middle section with the horns, the breakdown of the horns, and that gives way to the guitar section and comes back, and it's just a great song. One thing about this album is the lyrics are not always great, sometimes naive, but they're not the silliness that you get on a lot of McCartney lyrics on earlier albums and on some of the songs that came off albums after this. So it's about the right pitch on the lyrics. The Pound is Sinking, almost as good as Ballroom Dancing. I give that a 9, 9.5. I don't know what he's going on about. Probably thinks he's making a point about something, but you know, who knows what he's talking about. But it's a good song, and that kind of Spanish guitar in it, really good. Nice driving song. Wanderlust is another ballad. Might be my favorite one on the album. I don't know. Tug of War and Take It Away are about equal to it, but Wanderlust is kind of a dreamy, big production number. Does it really well. Get It is McCartney and Carl Perkins, written by McCartney but performed by Perkins and McCartney. Rockabilly song. Perkins, of course, was one of the Beatles heroes back there with Elvis and Chuck Berry and Little Richard and all them. So it was probably a big thrill for Paul to work with, get to record with Carl Perkins there. It's a great song. Sounds like an old rockabilly song. Gotta love the way it ends with Perkins just having a ball and laughing his head off at the end of the song there. Shame kind of that they didn't go off and do a little side project and record some more songs, I think, on one hand. On the other hand, I think maybe this is enough and maybe this is good, because had they recorded some more songs, probably would have just been a bunch of rockabilly stuff, and maybe more would have been a little too much, and maybe this is just right, or maybe it's a shame they didn't do more. But Get It, great song. Give that a 10. This is one thing about this album. There's a lot of variety here, and it all works. It's not just let's try something different on every track for the sake of it, and you get a kind of disjointed thing. I think there's a lot of variety, but it all blends together and meshes really well. Let's see. Be What You See is just a little, 30, 40-second link song. Not much to it. Some background vocals by Paul, synthesizer thing. It's for what it is. You know, it's a nice little bridge between the two songs. A little real, doesn't add up to much, but scale of 1 to 5, it's pleasant enough. I'll give it a 7. Dress Me Up Like a Robber, which is another soulful song, a really good kind of Paul singing falsetto with kind of a soul, just a good chugging soul number. And you would think that would have been one of them he did with Stevie Wonder, but I guess it's just him by himself. But that's a really good one, and kind of an 80s sounding song, but also kind of a 70s soul sounding song mixed together, and it works. I give that one a 9. Catchy thing. It keeps going through my head these last few weeks. And then the album ends with the number one hit, Ebony and Ivory, which is a song that was not critically well received, even though it was a huge hit, and that a lot of people point to as those one of Paul's excess songs, those sort of silly McCartney songs. And it is twee, and it is silly, and it is naive, and it is lyrically a bunch of Hallmark sentiment, and you know, a bit. It's not a very good song, but for all of that, it is catchy as hell, and I have always liked it quite a bit. It's far from his greatest, but I've always had a soft spot for it, and it sounds really good. The singing of him and Stevie Wonder together works really well. It's a silly song, but it's a song that I always liked, and I always saw it as kind of a cousin, I guess, to With a Little Luck. They both seem to be coming from the same place in some ways. I like the song. I'm going to go ahead and give it an 8. Bonus disc, you get side 3 starts with something called Stop. You don't know where she came from, a demo. Sounds unfinished. It's a fun little song. It's not a very long song. It's kind of an upbeat. Sounds like it's just having fun in the studio. I don't know. Shame that he didn't work it up into a proper song, because it's not a bad one. Then you get demos for Wonderlust, Ballroom Dancing, Take It Away, and The Pound Is Sinking. They're nice to have. They don't really, none of them improve on the released version. None of them add really too much understanding to how the songs came about, but they're pleasant enough. I'll give Stop, You Don't Know Where She Came From. I like that one. I'm going to give that an 8. The demos, Wonderlust, Ballroom Dancing, Take It Away, and Pound Is Sinking. I don't know. I give them, 6 or 7 there. They're okay. I don't know how much often I will listen to them in the future, but it's nice to have them. Side 1 ends with a song called Something That Didn't Happen. Really good song. I like that. It's a demo of that song, and I will give that one, I think I'll give that a 9. I like that one. Nice song, so yeah. Side 4, you get more demos. You get Ebony and Ivory demo. You get Dress Me Up as a Robber Riff demo. A second Ebony and Ivory, which is the solo version without Stevie Wonder. They're kind of neither here nor there. Again, pleasant songs, nice to have, nice to hear once or twice, I guess. I don't know that I'll be playing them too much in the future. And what I said when, on Venus and Mars, there's a demo version of Rock Show that's a longer version that I'm not going to say I like it more than the studio released version, but I like it just as much. That's not true with any of the demo songs on this particular album, though again, they're all okay. Side 4 actually ends with Rain Clouds and I'll Give You a Ring, both of which were B-sides on 45s released on this album, from this album, and have never been released on a proper album otherwise that I know of. And both of them are really top songs. It's a shame that they were not on the album somehow. I don't know what you would take off, because even Somebody Who Cares, which I called the weakest song on the album, is good enough that it probably needs to still be there. And there's nothing else that I would remove off of here to put either of those two on. It's a shame they couldn't have just fit more songs on the album. But yeah, Rain Clouds is a good song, and it kind of ends with a Celtic music feel, kind of an Irish reel or jig. I don't know the difference between a reel or a jig, but it's Celtic sounding. Not really, doesn't sound like, but sort of reminiscent of Mull Kintyre, even though the two songs sound nothing alike. But it's got that Irish Celtic music feel to it. Not at first, but toward the end. And it's a nice, decent track. I'm going to give that a 8. I'll Give You a Ring is the other B-side. It's a really, really great song. Shame that didn't get some notice, and shame that he hadn't played that in concert, because I really like that one. I'm going to give that a 9. Overall, I give this album a 9.5, and, some of these songs, it's a shame when he does his concerts that he kind of tends to play Band on the Run and Jet and things like that all the time, which nothing against those songs, but I wish that he would give those a rest if he's going to keep touring and play some songs off of like this album, Back to the Egg, things off of Ram. Backseat of My Car would be a great live song. Ballroom Dancing would be a great live song. Maybe he's done that before, I don't know, but there's a lot of stuff out here that's a shame that it didn't get more notice, and I don't know what McCartney thinks of these old songs himself, whether he thinks people have forgotten them or whether he forgotten them himself. But great album, one of his best. I was looking at some videos where other people have posted the deluxe edition of both of these albums, the CD sets with the books. I got that only for Ram and for McCartney 2. All the rest of these I've just picked up on vinyl. I'm thinking I might get this one. I don't know about Pipes of Peace, but I'm thinking after watching the videos I might get this on the deluxe edition too, for the CDs and the DVDs, but mainly for the books, and be kind of cool, I think. I don't know that there's any extra music on the deluxe edition that's not on this, other than maybe some stuff on the DVD, but yeah, it's a great album. I'm glad to have it out, and I will, like I said, I've been listening to Pipes of Peace, and still need to listen to that a little bit more before I do a review. So anyway, Tug of War, it's a good one. If it's you don't have it, it's definitely one of the McCartney albums that's worth a pickup.